Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talent, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution radio show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Mangadek. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution radio show, as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution.
Grand Rising, and thank you all for joining us on this edition of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and we'll be right back joining our co-host Kareem Hamid and the American Muslim 360 family. And we want you to join us too. And Grand Rising. Walaikum salam.
Unmuted.
All righty. Yes. Yes, we are joined here with our co-host, Kareem Hamid, and the American Muslim 360 family on this wonderful Wednesday morning on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we invite you all to call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak. And we will certainly open your mic and get your thoughts, because we want to hear from you on this topic today. Today, Brother Kareem, I don't know what the schedule is in St. Louis, but this week school has started in Chicago, and I know school has started for many school districts across the country. And we want to make sure that our children are being properly supported by their parents. There's an event that has been an annual event that was started by one of the citizens of Chicago, the late Phillip Jackson, who founded the Black Star Project. And he founded something called the Million Father March, where fathers would take their children to school on the first day of school. Well, today's show, we're going to ask the question, we're asking the question, how important is a father's involvement in the education of his child? Because in too many families have split, and sometimes the father gets kicked to the curb. If he's not the primary custodial parent, he doesn't get informed as to what's happening with his child's education. He's often not included in the parent-teacher meetings. Sometimes if he goes to pick up the child, they have to check in the office, make sure he's authorized to pick up the child, just in case there was some conflicts with the split between him and the mother, and he, is not allowed. I mean, it's just all kind of sad things happening. So when it comes to fathers' involvement, a lot of times fathers aren't involved. So one of the things that Phillip Jackson wanted to do was to empower fathers to be a presence at the schools with their children. And his instituting this Million Father March program, it spread, of course, from Chicago all across the country. And there's an organization out of Atlanta entitled Fathers Incorporated. And of course, you can go to fathersincorporated.com and see many of the programs that they are pushing to involve fathers. They're also pushing for this Million Father March on September 15th of this year. And there are many who are trying to figure out how to get the men more involved in the lives of children, being involved, whether it's volunteer coaching or mentoring or whatever the case may be, because too many fathers have been too disconnected, and sometimes they don't know their teachers, their child's teacher's name. They may not even know what grade in school their child is, depending on how disconnected they've become from the father, from the child and the mother. And this has an impact. This has an emotional impact. And I'll talk more about that, what I observed, if fathers are not present in their child's life, but definitely not present with their education. And later on in the hour, we're going to be joined by Dr. Ron Ford, who has an amazing show that he addresses a lot of social issues. And he'll be coming on to give us his take on some of the societal conditions that create this separation of men from their families and what we might do to help. So we wanted to get your take on it. So, Brother Kareem, of course, you are a father and you have come from a family with heavy involvement of a father in your life, but a lot of children didn't have that. What have you observed in terms of maybe the trends of fathers being involved, or fathers helping with homework, or fathers picking up children from school, or fathers taking children to school? What was your experience, and what have you observed, and perhaps some trends happening now?
Yes, thank you, Naima. Thank you to Almighty God. You know, most of the interest expressed in the way of child support is usually tied to a monetary interest. Monetary interest to financially support the rate that your children. Usually, it's geared around money, around finance. Who that he should help on finance the life of his children. But the word is child support.
Support.
Child support. And that support goes beyond just monetary contribution. Whether he realizes it or not, and he definitely praise those fathers that see beyond just the financial needs of their children. That support comes in many fashions, in many ways, to actually be involved in your child's life. And education is a very important part of that. So I believe that it should be clear as to, you mentioned how if he attends a parent-teachers meeting, he has to prove that he is the father of that child. So, and there are some good reasons for that.
Yes.
You know, child abduction.
Yes.
So I would suggest to every father that truly supports his children, have an interest in their education, to go to the school administration and register. You know, bring his ID with him and small photo that will confirm that he is who he says he is. And so, as I say once again, child support goes beyond just monetary provision. The support of a child comes in many, many factors, especially your interest, involvement with them, staying in their lives. So I think we have to look beyond just the monetary part of child support. That child needs the support of two parents, whether both are in the home or not. He cannot divorce himself from supporting his children beyond just financial support. So I'm looking forward to a very enlightening conversation this morning concerning the father's involvement in the education of his children. I would hope that he would have an interest in that. I remember my father, he would periodically stop one of us and ask us to spell a word.
Wow.
And, the word that he would ask us was compressibility. Now, you know.
Now that's different. That is different.
Yes. And not only that, he would question us concerning our timetable. You know, what is 9 times 9? You know, and we would, if our answer was incorrect, he would correct us, and he encouraged us to study more. You know, so we had to sit on our P's and Q's because you never knew when our father would stop and ask you a question connected with learning, education. He was an avid reader himself, so as a consequence of that, I truly enjoy reading. But yeah, it is important that the father be involved, both parents be involved in the education of their children. Education is the vehicle for their future, So I'll stop right there. It was beyond just the financial support. That's truly support the whole child, and give support in every area that we can to save our children. I'll stop right there.
Well, that is a key thing, that support isn't just a paycheck. Support really is the emotional support. Now, of course, my parents, they worked together like a team. They had an organized way they handled us every day, because my mother worked days, my father worked nights. And so, my mother, she got us up in the morning, got our breakfast, and then she got ready for work. And then my father, he would drop her off at the train station, then he'd come back, take us to school. Or of course, most of the time we walked to school, but unless we may be running behind, and he would drop us off at school, and then have our lunch ready when we came home for lunch, because we came home for lunch in those days. School was within walking distance. You could walk back and forth to school and walk home for lunch. So we went home for lunch, and he had our lunch ready. And then after we went back to school, he went off work, and him and my mother had a system, because they both took the same train to work. So he would park at the train station. So when she got off work, she'd take the car from the train station, come home, and then pick him up from the train station when he got off late at night. So, I mean, they had a system where they were both equally involved in our education, and they both would, when my mother, if we had evening school events, she went to that. We had weekend, when we got to high school, had weekend sports events. My father went to that because he was off work, just so they were both involved. And that's what I saw in terms of parenting. So that's what I expected. And, that's what I built for my own child, to make sure that both my husband and I were involved in her schooling. I was heavily involved in her schooling, volunteered at the school, and then later taught at the school where she went to school. And my father, they had this program. They had Real Men Read or something like that. And he was one of those who would read from books to the children and that kind of thing. So again, our presence was there. And I think that has a lot to do with a child's emotional comfort and security, knowing that both of their parents are involved. But one thing that I saw as I began teaching at the school where I had first started out volunteering, and I started teaching there, I saw in many of the families where when there was a divorce or a separation, sometimes there was conflict, and the child was experiencing the emotional conflict, especially when I got to the high school level. It really became more pronounced because the children were more aware of some of the inner reasons for the conflicts. They were acting out emotionally. And I remember I did this writing assignment for my freshman English class. I think it was a freshman English class. And the assignment was for them to write a letter to the person who had made them the most angry and say the things they've always wanted to say. And out of 5 classes at that school, I would say 70% of the students wrote angry letters to their father for not being there for their mother. And that was so revealing to me, and seeing what they were going through emotionally as children, and understanding how it was impacting them and how they perceived it as their father not caring, their father hurting their mother, their father not being there for them. You know, I mean, the anger that came out in these letters, it was heartbreaking. And I speak to men often in terms of, you know, friends who are going through various relationship things. And so many of them speak of how difficult it is after a breakup. You know, first of all, you're heartbroken. And second of all, you know, being made to feel like you're less than a man, say if you're going through financial difficulties, and then the court system humiliates you, and often you don't have access to your child, and you know, conflicts over custody, and often made to feel like, you know, if you don't have enough money, you don't deserve to see your child. So many men have gone through that, and it's humiliating, and they're made to feel like, oh, you're just a paycheck. And the child's feeling the hurt of this, and the child is feeling the rejection with the father's absence, and the father is feeling that rather than deal with that hurt, or being made to feel inadequate, or facing the wrath and the anger of the ex, he just stays away, just avoid all of it, which means avoiding his child, which hurts the child. But I kept seeing that pattern over and over and over again, and I'm thinking, how can we help parents keep their focus on the child? Because if you're in emotional distress, how can you concentrate in school? Now, some children could overcome that and excel anyway, but many could not. And I find that for the male children, the absent father was really, it was a key thing in their self-esteem and even their show of respect to their teachers. And I could always tell the ones whose fathers were missing because of the way they spoke to the adults. I could tell the ones in the females whose fathers were missing because of their actions. And so that father's presence has such an emotional impact. But when we reduce it to a dollar figure, well, if you pay so much money, then you deserve to see your child. If you're not paying, then, you know, there's no point in you coming around here. Well, yeah, they need more than just his money and his physical presence. Unless he was abusive, and that's the reason for the breakup, there's no reason for him not to be involved. But I've talked to so many men who just emotionally, it was just too much for them to deal with. So much anger, so much hurt. And so their answer was just avoidance. But then that meant not being involved in their child's critical years in their education, not being involved in activities, not having made themselves familiar with the school, so that when they show up, you know, it's not like, who are you? Which happens too often. So like you were saying, they need to go, they need to register, they need to see, you know, people know who they are. I remember one time my husband went to pick up my daughter from school, and the particular person working in the office, she had not met him. And so she said, well, wait, let me look up and see if it's okay. He came home, he was so upset. I had to look up and see. And I said, look, you know, I understand she didn't mean any harm. It's just some families don't have you know, a unity where it's okay for either parent. Some parents are going through conflicts, and school staff has gotten in trouble for releasing a child to a parent that was not authorized to take them. So they have to make sure, I apologize for that happening, you know, and she didn't know because she was new, she had never met him. But he was so enraged, he was so offended, I would say. You know, how dare her? This is my child. You know, I understand. But some families, that's what they've had to do. And, you know, I know it is difficult. So we need to start out getting men involved in their families. But before we take a break, and I want to make sure I check the switchboard. And of course, invite you all to call in 515-605-9325 or 515-605-9891 and press 1 if you have something to say. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your experience as a father. How were you involved in your child's education? You know, going to school events, taking them to school, picking them up from school. And what was your experience growing up? Were your parents involved in your education? And how did that affect you? How did that impact you? How did that impact your child, you believe, if you were involved or not involved in your child's education? So give us a call and give us your thoughts. 515-605-9325 or 515-605-9891. And press 1 when you're ready to add your voice to this conversation. So before we take a break, what are some things that you would recommend men do if maybe they haven't been involved in their child's education? Are there ways that they can start? Ways they can maybe even make amends if there is a split and they have not kept up with what their child's learning. Maybe they, and I'm seeing this also as a pattern, maybe their fathers didn't set an example of what a father's involvement in the child looks like. And they might have a really hardworking father, maybe, went to work, came home, brought the money, but maybe he just never was involved in that aspect of their lives. So they don't even know how to begin. What would you advise for someone who just doesn't know what to do?
Well, one simple word: education. As to what is our father. Father goes beyond just a sperm donor. The father is to also be involved in the nurturing and upbringing of his children. Sometimes what happens is there's resentment between the mother and father. And that resentment, that battle, that type of resentment toward each other can negatively affect our children. Some men feel, well, I'll just drop off this chick and keep it moving because I don't want to argue. I don't want to get all involved, all entangled in the problems that me and her had. Regardless, we are still parents, and we need to look beyond our resentment and focus on the interest of what we have produced as parents. I would encourage every man to take an active role in the raising, rearing, and interest of your children. Now, in the court system, which sometimes feeds the resentment, the lawyers and all of that, their interest needs to expand beyond just financial support. I would recommend that in how they structure support, it needs to be identified beyond just monetary. That you must support your child in every way. If there is a primary custodial parent, and there needs to also be serious conversation with the custodial parent and an understanding reached concerning one's involvement with their children. Men have to have an interest in their children beyond just just sustenance, just financial sustenance. How are you doing? How are you doing? An interest in their thinking, an interest in their feeling, an interest in some matters that that children would like to speak with their parents about, but they have a hesitance. They'll just stuff it, or they'll just discuss it with their friends. The friends don't know any more than that child.
That's true.
Full involvement as a father. You can divorce a wife, but you can never divorce your children. So it is important that we as fathers, that we to take our rightful place in the rearing, especially in the education of our children. The male voice carries with it authority. You know, it carries authority with it, and it has some weight. His mere presence is has a positive effect. I remember one of my granddaughters. The school that she was going to, they had a Father's Day, and her father was not too involved at that level to attend. So I went to school with her as her grandfather, and boy, she was so proud. I mean, she was running from ear to ear and introducing me to all of the students, teachers, and everything. She was hugging on me. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. So we have to look through the lens of our children, a child, and get totally involved beyond just dropping off a check and keep it rolling. The parents have to get beyond the resentment. If that father's not opposing a physical threat, then I think he should be invited, encouraged, and involved in the education of his children. Very important. And
I agree.
I witnessed it myself. My granddaughter was so happy for us. She was our lead, her teachers, everybody.
Wow. That was special. That was special. Well, we want to talk about that also. If you are the grandparent and maybe for whatever reason, the parent is not there. If you're the grandfather and, maybe the father's just, what is that, MIA, missing in action, but a male presence needs to be present. How do you step in? Well, we're going to take a quick break and come back and bring back our guest, Dr. Ron Ford. He's got a fantastic show, Ask Dr. Ron, and he addresses quite a few of the social conditions throughout our community and perhaps some solutions that we need to think about. So we'll be right back after this quick break, and we invite you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we'll come right to you and get your thoughts. And you can call 515-605-9891 and be on the line of our co-hosts, Kareem Hamid, and our American Muslim 360 family, as we talk about how important is the involvement of a father in his child's education. So we will be right back in just one moment. And if you're on our switchboard now and have a comment you'd like to make, press 1. That lets us know you've got something to say. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Yeah, I have a caller here on the air.
All right, we'll take them when we come back.
Are your children misbehaving and acting out? Is someone in your family abusing drugs? Have you been the victim of domestic violence? Are you grieving over the loss of a loved one? Let us help you restore serenity to your life. At Serenity Family Social Services, we understand that good mental health is a result of emotional well-being. Our goal is to assist you and your family in removing emotional distress and restoring harmony and balance to your lives. We offer individual, couples, and family counseling. I'm Howard Williams, CEO of Serenity Family Social Services. Call us today at 312-315-4820. That's 312-315-4820.
Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Life transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
We are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid, and we are joined by our guest, Dr. Ron. Dr. Ron Ford of Ask Dr. Ron is joining us today to talk about this issue of how important is a father's involvement in his child's education. I know a lot of fathers that saw their children go to school, graduate, and go on to be great things, but they weren't personally involved. And I'm even hearing now from some adult men and women who either are expressing gratitude for their father's encouragement, involvement, support, or expressing regret for their absence and feeling hurt that they were not there. So we've got Dr. Ron with us and got our co-host Kareem Hamid online. And of course, we've got callers on the line that have something to say. But first, let me bring to our audience, once again, Dr. Ron.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. I've been kind of following the conversation. And, I think it's interesting that one key point that we all omit, that why fathers are not in the family is dysfunctional and broken on purpose. Our government had a mission to break our family, and they did that. So a lot of the products of what we're seeing is because of their on purposeness, if that's a word. They design the family to be attacked and broken up and separated so that the fathers don't even have rights, you know, and then they want to know why we so mad and angry, you know, but you put us in this situation. And, I'm gonna inject this into the scenario. During COVID, a very interesting discovery came out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that was that when the educational system decided to home teach their children, they gave them all laptops and say, you stay home with your parent, because it was only one. And the system was trying to teach remotely. Parents decided they didn't like their children and they had to get them back in school as quick as they possibly can.
Wow.
Come on now. I know you saw what I saw.
Yeah, it was.
They were protesting. They was doing all sorts of things. Take these kids out of this house, because if I'm their teacher, they then failed.
Well, I think that there was a whole lot more respect for teachers developed after that, because they realized, look, if my child is cutting up in my house, I can imagine what they're doing when they're not.
Exactly.
And they had to face the reality of what teachers have to deal with. A lot of emotionally distressed children, bringing all of that dysfunction into a classroom. Imagine if you got 30 of that every day.
Every day.
To you. So
and it's a struggle, especially in the Chicago school. So I don't know about any place else, to get male teachers.
Yes.
There's a campaign going on right now in the city of Chicago trying to attract male teachers to the system. And the principals that they had that were especially Black, they got rid of some, and protests went on because they were great people. But once again, the system is broken. Our family is broken, and you and I have talked about this before. The role model of the family is the dynamics of it has changed so much. Yeah. So the question would be, how do we get a wraparound service that would begin to address the issues that we have to try and make things better for our generations to come? Because I agree with the other co-hosts that back in the day, we had grandparents, we knew who our parents were, fathers, took on the role of responsibility and did what they were supposed to do to be a part of their children's life. And those things have, eroded, as you might say, to a place where we are now, and then you have to think about this. Women have made, and I ain't trying to place no blame because I ain't trying to make no women mad this morning. Women made bad choices on who their baby daddy is.
Ooh.
Okay. I know that's a whole conversation by itself. But if you picked a person just to be a baby daddy and not to be a father, then you got what you was looking for.
Maybe you know what to look for.
Exactly. So it's a multitude of problems here, and to address father's involvement in the child's education. I know in some states, my son is dealing with this now. He has 2 boys, 2 of my grandchildren, and the state of Tennessee doesn't even acknowledge him as a parent.
Wow, that's horrible.
That's insane. And they got him trying to figure out what to do to get parental privileges because he wants to be in his children's life. He wants to be there for them, and they fighting against him.
So how is it that they're able to do that? I mean, what is his relationship with the mother of the child? Are they together? Are they estranged?
They are estranged at the moment, but he picks the kids up when she allows it to happen. So he tried to go to court to try and get court ordered, visitation so he can have his kids. Since you don't want to give me the kids when I call you and trying to make arrangements, You know, she's being resentful towards him. And the problem is, when he went to court, they say, well, you haven't even established paternity. So we don't even know, you know, we don't even know that that you are the father. You know, we don't know what you want to do with these children. That's what the court is. Right. You know, and that's a real thing. And I explained to my son, you know, just because you put your name on the birth certificate does not establish paternity according to the court system. You know, the court system has to, do a DNA test and determine that, yes, you are the father, you know, like Maury Povich, you are the father, you know. So now, you know, he's not trying to, deny the children. You know, he did his own personal DNA test to confirm that he is the father, and he wants to be in their life, and he wants to support them. And he can't wait for them to get of age where they get to go play ball and do things like that. He's looking forward to those type of things. But when you have a system, which is what I said in the beginning, that's opposed to male figures in the family, this is the kind of thing that you get. Tennessee, behind enemy lines. Okay, I say it all the time. Okay, you know, I tell my son, you live in a place where they don't care about you and your skin color. Okay, you know, so you trying to exercise like you are, a human being trying to provide for your children. They don't care about you being a human being. You know, and that's a deep statement right there, but it's a lot of places throughout the South that are like that still.
Well, you know, and one of the reasons why we have this show, particularly on Wednesdays, where we're focusing on fixing broken families. You know, a house divided cannot stand. And whenever we cannot, as men and women, cooperate and work cohesively, we put ourselves in a position to be attacked by a system that looks to profit from everybody's misery, no matter what it is. And
absolutely,
too many families. I believe our co-host Kareem Hamid has some remarks, and I know we've got a caller online. Go ahead, Brother Kareem.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. I'm bringing in area code 706-627. Mohammed, assalamu alaikum to you this morning.
Wa alaikum assalam, Brother Muhammad from the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad by the way of Columbus, Georgia. I'm gonna try to stick to the solutions like very quick for the purpose of the time. Look how long ago when Allah bless Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, to tell all men that Prophet Muhammad was Quran live. So the more you do the same footstep, obligation, and discipline, the less problem you will have as you go forward. Also, it reminds us, before the Quran, the man had always patterned his life off in a degree of the animal world and other things that Shaitan pointed to him to make him think that was his responsibility as a man. Number two, Prophet Muhammad said, you will have to control your anger. And the only way you're going to do that is to keep your mind in the Quran and in subject to your Creator, who is the only one who gives you that type of peace. Our children are witnesses to our struggle of living the uncivilized man's way of responding to life and the civilized man's response to life. And we are struggling with that our own self. The next thing we need to remember is that when you become married, your goal is to be one soul. Let no knowledge come in you to test your unity and worship to Allah, because your children are watching. And you're not perfect, so what little they do learn and don't learn, at least they will learn from praying and asking for forgiveness will help keep some kind of stability to it. Number one, keep your dua to Allah true to yourself. Don't pray to Allah, Allah, please help me with my wife, or Allah, please help me with my husband, Allah, please help. Don't make those duas and don't have the denying your health that you know Allah is more than glad to give to us, so that we can live this Quran.
Living it.
Remember that when we talk, yes, that's the whole key. Aisha said, remember now when Aisha said that, that's almost 1,000 years ago, probably, or better. But she told us then by Allah's permission, now not her own. Allah was telling her to tell the men, you have to live this Quran the way Prophet Muhammad exemplified it if you want to be successful in everything from now and on. Because men before you, they not have this final clearance. They are like Prophet Isa told, y'all so way off the right track, I have to come back here and reset you so that you'll be able to receive the final development of your human creation, your male creation, your female creation. And do it is a one soul, one responsibility except the second. The Tawheed that you've been talking about for 1,400 years, we have the opportunity to put it together now. The next one, like I said, is keep your dua to Allah true and to yourself. And then we also have to remember that when we talk, do so with the Quranic mind, not the black mind, the African American mind, or any other minds that we have studied in history or influenced in history. Because most of those minds come from the shaitan and have satanic contamination in them. That's why Allah said, this is my favor. It will be clear. And it's called al-Islam. When we do that, we will set the example for our children to observe and learn. Very important right here is how well a man treats his wife and how well he passes on to his son the responsibility that he will have when he become a father. That he has to do the best he can with his wife and make sure his son know how to respect women. And the mother is supposed to do the same thing with her daughters. And they have that natural, moral respect for each other to wait and do things according to the way they worship to their Creator.
Now that's a point I'd like to address. So and you know the reason I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because, like Dr. Ron was saying, you know, when people had to spend time in the home with their children, some realities were revealed. And one of them was that they couldn't stand the children that they had raised. So what behavior had they really been modeling in the home? And all the time when their children act out in school and they're blaming the teachers and blaming the system. But the reality was these children came from you and your behavior. How are you talking to each other? The husband talking to the wife talking to the husband. How are you talking to each other in the house? If you're rude and mean and nasty and inconsiderate, that's what you taught the children because that's what they saw. So that's what they brought to the outside world. We can't fake it anymore when we have to look at the mirror and see that the ugly picture we're looking at is us. And I think that's something that each family had to face. What did they actually instill in their children in the home? And when your children had to stay in there with you all day and you weren't able to send them out for 8 hours and you didn't really see what you had created, there's a difference. Now, this afternoon, I'll be attending an event, and I believe the anti-defamation.
Looks like she froze up there for a minute.
Did I?
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Now you're back. You're back. Okay.
Okay.
I was getting ready to go into stall mode.
Hey, well, you know what to do. But this afternoon, I'll be attending an event that the Anti-Defamation League is sponsoring, No Place for Hate. And it's an education program that's supposed to help educators to create the environment in the schools where there will be peaceful interaction. And so I'll be participating in that Zoom meeting this afternoon. But one point that I want to bring up is how are we talking to the children? How are we treating the children? What are we modeling for them? And everybody looks at the children. How can we fix these children? But it's the adults that model bad behavior, whether you're in the home or in the classroom, because whatever kind of parent you are, that's what kind of teacher you're going to be. And I saw some teachers that were very loving, kind, and patient. And I saw some that you could tell that they were bringing their personal problems into the classroom. And I'm not saying any names or naming any places, but I observed in places that I've been where when, sisters, I'm not bashing us, when a woman has just had a breakup or is going through problems in her relationship, she is different in the way she treats male students. She's more likely to be harsh and punitive and impatient and insulting. I've observed that with my own eyes and ears. And I have seen the effect on the male students. They don't want to go to school and be insulted by the teachers. So we got to look at how are our personal relationships affecting even how we treat the children. And it does affect how a teacher treats a child if he or she is not happy in their home. So everything really does start in the home. And that's where we got to fix the problem.
You know, can I make a quick point?
Yeah.
I know you got to go to break in a minute, but one thing that we have to remember about young people, that their minds are like sponges.
Mm-hmm.
They soak up everything that they come in contact with. If, you know, I remember back in the day when they used to say that we are a product of our environment. If we grew up in a project, then we saw things in our community that were really, really crazy things. And those things affected those children, what they saw.
Yes.
You know, so when you have a young mind that's designed to evolve, and like if you lived in a jungle, you would learn how to survive in a jungle.
Mm-hmm.
If you grew up in a concrete jungle, you learn how to survive in a concrete jungle. So what you are exposing those minds to will affect them throughout their entire life. You know, you grew up with two parents in your household, and that affected you. That was your norm. That was what you saw. That was your beginning foundation. So that was your plan for success, to duplicate what you saw, to make a success story for you and your family, because that's what you saw. That's what you were exposed to. So when you think about people that have soaked up so many other different things, like crack babies, let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
We got so many dysfunctional children that have mental illness that now they're beginning to call it out. Oh, they got mental illness.
Yes.
Okay, but yet you shut down all of the mental illness facilities. You put crack on the street and then get no place for anybody to go get help. And then they carried these babies for 9 months, and then they brought them into the world. And then now, oh, we don't know what to do with them. Well, you created this Frankenstein.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. Where do you think it was going to manifest? You know,
right, exactly.
It's going to come back to all of us, and then
and then you have children, and I call them children, even though they're teenagers, because they act like children, that are on the streets of all major cities. They're tearing up stuff because they have no fear of authority.
Right. I mean, if your house is if you're treated pretty much like a prisoner, the way you're talked to, the way you're disrespected, you're numb. You're numb to the meanness. You're numb to the punishments. You don't care anymore, and that's where a lot of them are. It's not like they have to worry about wonderful, loving environment being taken away. They don't have a wonderful, loving environment. They got meanness and hatred and pain and hurt. So yeah, they don't care because they have nothing to lose because it's already gone. That's
They
why.
they didn't know what they were missing.
Right.
They had no knowledge of it to begin with.
Right.
They had no foundation to build on. You know, and grandparents have stepped in to try to help in most cases, but you know, grandparents can't do it all. You know,
that's another thing. We got to take a break, but I
yeah,
guess that's the time to kind of talk about that, because a lot of us, like Kareem was saying, you know, when he went to his granddaughter's school, and how it just was such a wonderful thing for her. A lot of people now are in that stage where they have to step in because for whatever reason the parents aren't available. But some of them feel like, I don't want to be bothered. I did my job. I raised my children. But what about if there is nobody and you are the only one who has to be there? Are you emotionally ready to step into that role? What if it was never done for you? What if you never did it during your time that you were the father? Now you're the grandfather. Are you willing to maybe do what was not done in the life of your child? Now you can do it in the life of your grandchild. Well, we'll talk about that when we come back. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1. That lights your number up on our switchboard and lets us know you have something you'd like to contribute. You can call 515-605-9891. We're also broadcasting simultaneously on American Muslim 360 Radio. And that number again is 515-605-9891. Again, press 1 to our co-host, Kareem Hamid. We'll see your number light up on the switchboard, and open your mic so that you can be heard. And we're going to come right back with our guest, Dr. Ron. And you want to hear him during the week on Ask Dr. Ron and get some insights. And we will be right back after these brief messages. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back with more on how important is a father's involvement in the life, in the education of his child. And most definitely, if you have experience either having been a parent who was involved or not involved, or you are impacted by your parents being either involved or not involved, we want you to give us a call. We'll be right back after this quick break, so stay with us.
Everything you need, what your body needs, is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
Unmuted.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. If you'd like to join us visually, you can go to the Female Solution on Facebook or go to the Female Solution on YouTube and like and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit that bell so that you can get notified every time we go live. And you will, of course, have an opportunity to write in your comments. We've got some comments from our Facebook viewers, and Viata from Viata's Tiny House Village, and of course Viata, who is with us every Friday and Sunday here on the Female Solution, says, Grand Rising. Most criminals in prison had a poor or no relationship with their fathers. Yes. Extremely important for fathers to be present at every stage of the child's development. Yes. And she said, why in Tennessee your son is not given his rights as a parent? Yeah, she's asked that question. Yeah, what's up with what's happening in Tennessee? Well, you know, Tennessee is one of them southern states. So,
Right. And I've talked to him several times about it. He's been to court, and you know, because he has not established paternity as of yet, then the state itself will not just grant him any parental rights because he signed on the birth certificate.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
As far as you know, with Tennessee law, if you're married, do they challenge your fatherhood rights, or are they only challenging your fatherhood rights if you don't have that contract with the state saying that you're married?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. Because they're not married by law, that contract between a man and a woman they call marriage, then they don't acknowledge him as the father.
That's an important point, because those kinds of things actually do impact whether or not a father gets treated as someone who has parental rights.
Mm-hmm.
That piece of paper is more than a piece of paper. I mean, we're living in a corporation. That's what America is. It's a corporation. And these contracts that we have, these are business agreements.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the protection of a business agreement, then you don't have any rights, just like any other business agreement. You go to a store and purchase something, and you have some type of conflict about the product. Well, you gotta have a receipt that shows that you paid for it, because that's a business agreement. We give you this, and you pay a certain amount, and we're guaranteeing what we've exchanged. Well, you have to have something that shows that there was an agreement. So if you don't have that agreement with the government, because we are citizens of a corporation, then you can be ignored in terms of your rights. And is that spiritually correct? Well, it's not got nothing to do with spirit. This is business. And so people who are hesitant to put their agreement of a relationship and mutual responsibility on paper in terms of that marital contract, they could be subject to those kinds of actions by the government in denying their parental rights.
Yeah, and it was a rude awakening for him. He was at the birth of both of his children. She has two children, same woman. And the people in the hospital, the nurses, the doctors, everybody that assisted with the delivery, they were like, hey, you ain't got no rights up in here.
Wow.
You know, so that was his first awakening to the fact that, you know, this is like, you know, like, look, what you talking about? I ain't got no rights. I'm the father. I just signed the birth certificate. You know, I'm the father. And they like, don't mean nothing. And they began to treat him,
You're
you
not
know, yeah, like it was nothing. It means something to you, but it don't mean nothing to us.
Yeah, that's a deep thing. So I don't know, what do you think about that, Kareem? I mean, I see that pattern happening a lot. And here's the deal. A lot of times, you know, too often, I hate to say it, but, you know, we're trying to work that system with the public aid thing, you know, and couple, you know, woman gets pregnant. Okay, you get a certain amount of money as a single mother. You don't get the money if you're not a single mother. It's not fair. But they figure, okay, we'll work the system. All right, yeah, well, you know, this is my man. I'm living with him and everything. We got a family, but there's no papers because she got to work the system, you know, get that check. And they do that. And sometimes even, I know there was a time when they would say, well, if you know who the father is, then we got to go after him for the money. And so in order for him not to be pursued for money, child support, or whatever, she might say, well, I don't know who the father is, so they might not be any name on the birth certificate. Again, right. You know, a couple, they together, but they trying to work the system. But right. That backfires because at some point, his legitimacy as a father is questioned because in order for her to get the financial benefits, he was not acknowledged. He was not her legal husband. And therefore, his rights as a father can be impeded. And that is kind of like what Dr. Ron was saying about they got a system set up where we can end up being abused. And we're trying to play the system to get the money. And we end up getting played at the end of the day, especially with men not being respected as the fathers they are. And they might be in the home, they might be actively involved, but they get no respect. So what do you think about that, Kareem? What should we do to educate men on how this is happening so they don't continue to find themselves in this situation?
Well, you know, the sacred bond of marriage carries with it a great weight, and responsibility. And let me say this, that a title father does not always denote that child came from your loin. Father is a responsibility. Father is an action. Father is a verb, not just a noun. And there are men that
father is a verb. I like that.
That fit that deal. You know, the real problem stems from the relationship between male and female. This silent battle that has been waged between us. We have to reach a truce and put our interest on the well-being and the welfare of our children. And like it says, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, our Prophet Muhammad, prayers and peace be upon him, has stated that any man that educates two daughters, they enter paradise. Now, two daughters don't mean that they have to come from your loin. That's not right. No. So the education is very important. The whole welfare of that child. You know, sometimes, and unfortunately, children are born out of outside of wedlock. And it was just a an event that took place, a sexual event that took place. And but there is a responsibility that comes from the result of that activity. So we have to reiterate the sacredness of a human being. The sacredness of a human being, not just something that can be just tossed over on the side and you go on your way. There's a responsibility that comes with that. So I'm saying that when we get entangled in this court system, which is designed in a lot of cases against families, but there needs to be an educated agreement between the mother and child concerning the interests of the mother and child beyond just him dropping off a paycheck and he goes on his way. He has to be allowed to have access to his children in a reasonable schedule, and the mother should be encouraging him to get involved, stay involved in the life of our children. We can beat this scheme if we stop arguing among ourselves, with the interest on our children, and I believe that will somewhat lessen the effect of this scheme of tearing up our family. Put the interest on the well-being of our children. They are our future. That is how we live beyond our life. There are two things that you can give to a child that has merit. The Prophet Muhammad, God be on him, has stated, give your children a good name and good manners, good character and good manners. And with education, it goes beyond just the academics. You're educating a human being as to proper behavior, proper manners, proper respect for other human beings as well as yourself. Good manners is part of that responsibility as parents. So what we model in front of our children is very important. What we say to them is very important. And the father is a necessary ingredient in the proper rearing of children. And for those that desire that, they should not be denied that. So let's, whatever resentments we have toward each other, let's put that aside and put the interest on our children once more. When you show up at a PCA meeting, your child's school, it's just like people that visit an aged home. When they see that there is an outside entrance, then the people that live in these senior citizen facilities, the administrators, they make sure that they give proper care to that resident. Well, it's the same way with education.
That's true.
When the parents show an interest, then the instructors, they are on their P's and Q's.
That's right. Sure they treat the child better. That's true. I've seen that all the time too. When parents show up, teachers are more conscious of how they treat that child and being fair to that child. When parents act like they don't care, it seems like the teachers don't care. So it does make a difference. It's challenging often when we're seeing that so much of what's falling apart in our society has to do with that relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. And like we've been saying, so much of the dynamics have changed. And, you know, we look at the religious institutions, some of them that have even started schools, and they want their children to be raised according to spiritual principles. And, you know, people talk about bringing back prayer in school and all of that. You know, I had a lot of friends who went to Catholic school, and one would presume, okay, well, it's based on religion, therefore, you know, there should be some principles of you know, love and peace and all of that. But what I remember my friends talking about was how they were always getting beat by the
nuns beat your tail.
Yeah. And we, you know, in our still. So do you remember that experience? the nun beatings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to look at how we think as a human family, and why is this meanness is still a part of how we are treating each other, the reason why we can't sustain a loving relationship, and how we're treating our children, the reason why they go to school and bully other children. This seminar that I'll be participating in this afternoon is all about anti-bullying. But the first bullies come out of the home. If parents are treating a child as if they're nothing and beating them down emotionally and verbally, where does that child learn that behavior? Well, they learn it from the home, and they take it to the school, and they pick on children who
because they think it's normal. That's their norm.
They think it's normal. So we have to find a way to change the way we behave. And sometimes we can follow a faith, but the spirit of the faith is still not in us. The meanness is still in us. Like, you know, Brother Muhammad was talking about living what's written in the book instead of what we're doing, which is our meanness toward each other. And we have to figure out how we can exemplify that love and guidance and protection for our children so that they can imitate that. Right now, they're imitating what they received. One thing we'll be doing in September, we're launching the New Earth Homeschool Academy online, and it's one of our first classes is a parenting class called Parenting with Peace. And we'll also be featuring a peace education class, which is how to teach interaction, proper interaction between children, between adults. But the parenting class, Parenting with Peace, that's what we're really hoping can reverse a lot of the behaviors between those two people that are bringing life through them to this world. And we have to first get that inner peace before you can combine with someone else and be that one that the brother was talking about. You know, if we've been raised with a lot of hatred toward us, a lot of self-hatred, that's what we're giving to our children, and that's what they're giving to the world. And when we can't stay together because we don't know how to treat each other, this is what happens. This the whole thing, it just snowballs, all the different effects of that.
Yeah. You know, I don't want people to think that I just came to the show to throw up all the problems we got without offering any type of solution, because I have been pointing out all the issues, you know, for the first part of the show. So let me tell you what I did for me and my family. My oldest daughter, she's gonna kill me for giving her age. She's 30. She'll be 36 years old this year, and she has two grandchildren of mine, a boy and a girl. The oldest boy has had his first year in high school on last year. And from his opening day in high school, now they live in New Orleans, Louisiana. So from his opening day up until he lost his phone privileges, I was on the phone with him monitoring how he felt about going to a strange school, different place, getting involved with different people. And I was trying to encourage him to open up and receive the experience. And one of the things that in doing that, you know, he was able to go in there knowing that, oh, he must be on to something, because he wouldn't be telling me this if it was not something I need to be aware of. And it worked, you know, after he got over his butterflies and his jitters, because you think about it, your first year as a freshman, you got butterflies and jitters, but it's a new experience.
Yeah.
And he's a very smart young man, and his mother got him involved in music, so he got involved in the drum corps, which is a big thing in New Orleans, the drum corps. So he found something that he liked. Now, he's also a class clown, so he lost his phone privileges, so I wasn't able to keep up with him as much as I would have liked to. But as he successfully made it through the first year of high school, I offered up the opportunity for him to come spend the summer with me in Chicago. So I wanted to spend some time with him so I can impart some wisdom and knowledge into him that he's going to be needing to carry out through the rest of his life, which my grandfather did for me. So I wanted to throw this out there because there are mentors, and I talk about this on my show all the time. We need mentors in our lives. If you are a female, you need to find male mentors that can help with your children. They don't have to be a father. They don't have to be a dad. They don't have to get, privileges as a father or a dad, but a mentor.
Yes.
Somebody you can take your kid by the hand, sit down with that person and say, talk to him. I think I'm not getting through to him. Okay. And then that person would be able to say, okay, I got it. I know what the situation is. I have a friend in New Orleans. They started a mentor group for children in undergrade schools, like first through sixth grade. I know they got different names for the schools now, middle school, all that kind of stuff. So they go in with the permission of the school, and they sit down and they grab all the young men and they put them in a men's circle. Like, what's going on with you?
That's good.
What's happening at home? Why you feel the way that you feel? And then once they've had them for a couple of years, then they give them a badge, a t-shirt of honor that they've successfully completed the program with these men. So when they go to high school or to eighth grade, middle school, whatever they want to call it, people see that shirt and they recognize them as a person that has been mentored.
That's good.
And a person that has, that have had a group of men, not just one man, but a group of men in his life. And that person will have an easier time because he's been exposed to some conversations of adolescence and how to, control your emotions. Because a lot of times, we accuse, I'm finna get in trouble, women of not having control of their emotions. But men don't have control of their emotions too.
Right. Let's be honest. No human being really has control of their emotions. Some might hide their emotions.
Exactly. So, I applaud my youngest son for wanting to be in the life of his boys. And I encourage him every chance I get.
Yes.
But I try to encourage him in wisdom. Don't get emotional about it. Put your emotions in check, and do what you got to do. Yeah, it's going to cost you some money, but that's what you work 12 hours a day for. To
Right.
be able to, wisely invest into your young people.
Right.
So, as a plan of action, I see men with gray hair, embracing youth, to help them understand what manhood is really all about. Get a mentor for your family, and it could be a spiritual leader, it could be a community leader, it could be someone that you look up to that's willing to take on the responsibility of, okay, I've successfully helped one achieve some things, so I got room for another. And then we need to support those men. You know, as women, you need to support that man because they're investing into your children.
Yes.
You know, and just because you see them, that don't mean drop them off and walk off. You know, like you do at school, drop them off at school and keep on going.
Right.
Find out what's going on.
Yes.
Reiterate the message.
Yes.
You know, what did Dr. Ron say to you? Didn't he tell you put your clothes up, you know, and not be a burden, take the trash out, do what men do, open the door for your mother when she's getting in the car. You know, those are types of things that men used to do, you know, and where did they learn it from? They saw what they saw. You know, I remember, you know, on social media, they have these little skits and women sitting, going on a date. And if the man doesn't open the door for the man, you know, for the female, then they'd be like, oh no, he's not a keeper. He went and got in the car by himself and he didn't even open the door for me.
Because he never learned.
Right. But they look at that as a red flag.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
You know, and it's kind of like no one taught you etiquette, which means a whole lot of other things you're probably not going to know. So you need that community of men to teach you things. And I applaud those who have organized that kind of effort because that's the solution. Men have to teach men how to be men. Women cannot teach you how to be a man with a woman. Only another man can teach you how to be a man with a woman because he's got to demonstrate what that looks like. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, I had a friend back in the day when my son was 17 years old, because it takes a village. I heard that word come out earlier. I put my son in martial arts, you know, to be able to learn discipline of control of anger, you know, because he was a angry young man and didn't know why he was angry. So I put him someplace where he can try and figure out why he was angry. And to discipline of the martial arts was wonderful for him. When he first came to me, he was like, yeah, I want to be an MMA fighter. And I said, no, you don't.
Ooh.
No, you don't. You like your teeth, don't you? You don't, you know, what MMA fighter, you know, had all
you
his
don't
teeth.
have them. That's when he gets knocked out.
So that was because his vanity. I had to appeal to his vanity. No, you don't. You don't want to do that. But you want to learn how to defend yourself. Right. And then I put him in a class of etiquette. You said that word just a second ago. And to be able to teach people how to use the right spoon, the forks, and what all of that stuff sitting on the table, you know, don't put your elbows on, how to use a napkin, how to, you know, properly eat soup. And it taught him proper etiquette, how to conduct himself at age 17, 18 years old at fine dining. And he got so good at it that the instructor wanted to make him a youth instructor. You know, so he had a sense of pride of accomplishing something that served him all his life. And it was funny, we were having a conversation, my son and he was like, man, I remember all that. Yeah, I can't wait to do my son like that. And I was like, wow, he's looking forward to reproducing what was done to him. So I think that conversation came up earlier. Yeah. You know, showing them something that's reproducible, something you said that you saw that you wanted to reproduce from your upbringing, you know, so there's hope. Now, unfortunately, we can't save them all, but save who you can. Save who you can. Put the effort into who you can save and stick with it. You know, be a mentor. It's even though it don't pay good, because I'm a witness. I got 3 or 4 people that's latched on to me and they have made me their mentor. And I was like, did I sign up for this?
Well, you know, it may not pay in money, but it definitely pays in so many other ways that are just priceless, because you're shaping a human being that's going to impact the world. So there's no greater pay than that. We got to take one last break, but we'll be right back with Dr. Ron and Kareem Hamid and you. So we want you to stick and stay. Don't stray away. And we'll be back as we talk about how important is it for fathers to be involved in their child's education. And we've got a statement from Zelda, our Monday morning mindfulness host, and she says, Grand Rising Wisdom Teachers, thanks for shedding positive light on fathers. Yes, there are some men out here that are doing their job. Yes, sir.
Yes, we have a caller here on the AM360 board.
All right.
After the public service announcement, we can open up their line.
All righty. And we've got a caller on the female solution line, and we'll come to them after that as well. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in just a moment. So stay with us.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. And we are back. You are listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, along with my co-host Kareem Hamid and the American Muslim 360 family, broadcasting simultaneously with us every Wednesday morning. And we want you to call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we will gladly open your mic and get your comments
Unmuted.
as we talk about how important is a father's involvement in his child's education. And we know that there are some great fathers out there that are doing a wonderful job, and we appreciate all of you who are definitely doing your part and making a difference. And we may need some of you all to step up and be a mentor to someone else's child who doesn't have that father figure. So we're back with our co-host Kareem Hamid, and we've got some callers on the line that want to weigh in on this topic. So you want to go ahead and open the mic, and then after that we'll go to 773-450 on the Female Solution line.
All right, 727-741. Welcome to the Female Solution.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. God peace be upon everyone. Martha Nyla calling from, thank you. Calling from St. Petersburg, Florida. And you know, I'm loving this, the conversation, and straight to the point of young men being in there. I had 3 sons, and I do validate that a female cannot bring the young man into his manhood the way that the combination of the mother and the father can, and then definitely with the father strengthening him with more, and those who can mentor them. So I had all of that for my son. Now I say that too, and then now I'm realizing that the entire information, the additional information that I'm seeing that they need, and I'm having conversations with young men, they're able to talk about it. But the Emancipation Proclamation, when does that come into the discussion? And reaching, as we reach for the faith balance in our life, you know, each individual finds their relationship with the Creator. And in doing so, there are problematic situations in life that you just have to go through. But there's a distinct problematic situation that connect with the Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, that's a reality. And I know if we're overlooking it, scathing over it, hoping it doesn't matter, but it does matter. I'll stop right there, the discussion of that and the reason to it and the southern states and why it is as it is. So, alhamdulillah. I'll stop right there. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yes, interesting. The Emancipation Proclamation. Well, you know, again, we're citizens of a corporation, and we used to be property held by citizens of the corporation. We had to fight a war to undo that, and there are still laws that in many ways keep us in a state of bondage. And and I'll take the next caller in just a moment. I want to just reflect on what I heard from a young man explain to me why he did not believe in marriage, because he said that he didn't want the government telling him how to handle his business. You know, he knows how to be a father to his children. You don't need a piece of paper. It's about the love and all of those things that he said. And spiritually, you know, certainly your agreement is with your Creator that you are going to be as one with this woman. You know, you are joined together and so forth. And we understand that the government cannot make you love someone. You can marry them and still treat them badly. We understand that it's a spiritual union, but we live in a corporation, and citizens have to make business agreements with the corporation in order to take advantage of the rights that the corporation has granted on paper. And if your rights are not granted, then you have a court system where you can address your grievances. It may or may not be a good system, but this country was founded by lawyers and farmers. So everything is about land and law. That's the way it is because of the way the country was organized. So knowing that, if we don't make the decisions to protect our legal rights, we'll find we don't have any. So let me go to our we got a couple of callers now. Let me go first to 773-450, then 773-436. We're coming to you right after that. 773-450. Give us your name and where you're calling from and your comments.
Yeah, hello, greetings. Assalamu alaikum to the brothers and sisters. How y'all doing today?
We're excellent. Sounds like the voice of Obadiah in Chicago. Yes, sir.
You know what's interesting? First of all, we need to start doing something different. In society, they teach you about sex, and you hear all this music and stuff, and young people are in a hurry to get to it. That is the wrong move. How do you develop children when two people just jump into bed? And here comes the baby. Look at society today. Half the children don't even feel love.
That is true.
So what ends up happening is that you first have to know who you are before you can develop anything. So we need to slow that process down. You know, Dr. Francis Cress Welton said, for our people, we need to slow the process down because we got so many challenges just being Black people coming up. So before you start bringing children in, you need to at least have some sort of understanding of who you are, what your purpose is, and what your gifts and talents are in order for you to get there. Otherwise, just having children because you can pump your chest up and stuff, who's going to take care of the baby? Who's going to provide the emotional support? Who's going to tell them what to do? So what we have in society is what we have today. What I do, I help anybody. When I work these jobs, I'll stop and mention the young men. If I sit next to them, we'll laugh and talk. Then I'm just sharing information. When the next thing they know, they took some of that information and they're off and running. I'll mention anybody. I even walk the street, stopping young men who are out there slinging, ask them questions like, do you have children and stuff? Don't you know there's another way that you can take care of your children? You can have actually benefits that will pay for their health care and stuff. And they start thinking about it and listening to me. Then a couple of them went and got security guard jobs. They got jobs working at Walmart. They went and did something other than just stand on the corner. But then I wondered, if I had told them that, would they have even done that? I was just trying to get them on a legal track instead of just making money the fast way and finding yourself locked up in jail.
Yeah,
so it's interesting. We talk about fathers. Yeah, but it takes a responsibility of us as human beings to treat each other a certain way. And so when men are beating up women, that's all out of order. What do you think the young boys grow up thinking?
They imitate what they see.
I do all of the above every day. I swing doors open for women. I show the young men they should be treating girls a certain way. I just do all of it. It's my responsibility. They don't have to be my children. There was a time we thought about race as our family. We didn't separate the two. That's why when the Black woman won the award back in the day, she said, I did this as a credit to my race, she said, not just for herself. We got too much self-implosion today. What about the group? So when we do the we, us, and our, we'll get God's blessing and we can move forward, though.
I agree. Well, I thank you so much. Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much, Obadiah, for being an example of what men must do above and beyond for their own children, because the men that we see out misbehaving and the women we see out misbehaving, people are only doing what they know. So we can't attack them for not knowing. You say, oh, they know better. No, they don't, because if you knew better, you'd do better. So thank you so much for setting an example.
They are, yes.
Yes, absolutely. So let me take the next caller at area code 773-436. Grand Rising. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your thoughts.
Hallelujah. Greetings, global transformers. Way-O-N Yah Shalom. Grand Rising. This is Mama G in Chicago.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mary, a marriage contract is more than a piece of paper. Spiritually and biblically speaking, Abraham's wife, Sarah, was referred to as the wife of promise, while Hagar was the mother of his child, but she was a slave. And they were not considered the same in the eyes of the Creator. And when it comes to a personal testimony, because Obadiah and I were, he was my fourth husband, I had all kinds of rules and regulations put on him. And we did not just jump in bed. We did not have intercourse until 2 years after we said the words of promise, because I wasn't going to make the same mistake. Let us sample the goods, and go along with this. Why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? So it wasn't going to be none of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it is important that you be chaste. I guess they asked me, Well, how is it that you can have 4 husbands? I have close husbands, 4 husbands, because first of all, I got it straight. I got many body parts. I don't just have the vagina part. And if you're just interested in the vagina part, then my arms have an attitude. My hands get upset. my legs, I'll have mutiny of the body if I let you play with that. So, you got to introduce yourself to all my body parts. Because I got more than the vagina part. So I think that it's very important. See, when it comes to, you need a father and a mother. That's why this whole idea of a woman's right to choose, where is it written? There's a 10 Commandments that says, thou shalt not kill, except if you're a woman, then you can kill the living soul that is in your body. I have not read that exception, and I collect Bibles and dictionaries because I believe God knows and man knows also. But when it gets down to what one of the biggest problems today, all the violence, we got all this violence. Hey, you got a violence problem because if women who bring forth life don't have any respect for life, then where will the respect for life come from? We got a violence problem because of that. And it's not a woman. No. When you're pregnant, let's get the math straight. It's not that complicated. When you're pregnant, you are a trinity. You are a 3-in-1. You're part living sperm, part living egg, and part living soul that egg and that sperm put together. So if the problem is that daddy ain't stepping up to the plate. Doesn't he read the word that said children are heritage of God and the fruit of the womb is his reward, and I knew you in your mother's womb? Why doesn't he step up? Seed is sacred. Doesn't he know what happened when a man wasted his sperm and it wasn't even fertilized? And the Creator had an attitude about that. So men need to step up. My question is, why can't men step up and say, hey, my job, spiritually speaking, is to protect the family. And this is my family. This is my sperm, your egg, and what God has helped us create. This living soul, if it's breathing, it's living. And if you're trying to stop the breathing, it's called killing because you did that on purpose. So why doesn't the men step up and protect the family?
Well, thank you, Mama D, for that question. And, it's an interesting observation because both sides are contributing to this condition that we're facing. And both sides have to look at themselves and say, what is it that I did not learn as a human being? And what must I now learn in order to become the best human being that I can be, and then unite with another human being so that we can form that harmonious union? That's the struggle that we're having. And that's at the foundation. Because even if the government has all kinds of schemes and plans and everything else, if we're unified, none of it will matter. None of it will impact us at all. You can only destroy a family if it's destroying itself from within. What is that African proverb? The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. So how do we teach our sons these principles? How do we teach our daughters these principles? And we got a couple of comments on our Facebook and YouTube channel. Let me bring up some comments. And Obadiah's comments were given an amen by our HLN TV show producer Zelda. Says, teach brother Obadiah. And she says, fathers can help their teens win cash prizes and scholarships this Saturday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Global Teen Virtual Talent Contest. And of course, you can see more on that on the Higher Learning TV show. That's coming up this Saturday, where we're encouraging young people to show their talents. They can also subscribe at Instagram.com/Teen Talent Contest. and encourage the best in your teens. And Deborah says, Grand Rising, what or whoever is the presence is present has to be positive and not toxic. And that's from our fourth Saturday host, Deborah. Yes, whether you're the mother or the father, you cannot be the toxic person in the home. And that's a lot of what we're seeing. We're seeing the toxic behavior of those who have not dealt with their own interpersonal struggles infecting the children, who then infect the society. And a lot of times that balance is not there. And when that balance is not there, then we see the toxicity. We see the angry father, the angry mother, and they hurt the children because they cannot unify in love. So how do we make that happen so that even if two who had been together as one split apart, there's not so much acrimony where they're in the midst of fighting each other and they're not able to come together for the sake of the child? I think one of our commenters said that we have to come together for the sake of the child. And of course, both our guest and co-host said the same thing. So the question is, and Mama D asked the question, why don't men step up? Where can they learn that? Dr. Ron, where can men learn these fathering skills if maybe they didn't experience it in their families? They didn't see what it looks like. They're out here slinging, like Obadiah saying, okay, you're out here on the streets making money illegally because you didn't have that structure, you didn't have the example, you didn't have the protection. Where can they learn it now, this family idea, and where can they see what it looks like so they can exemplify it? Where can they do that?
I think we talked about it earlier. I think the journey of wisdom begins with first accepting a relationship with God. You know, if a man does not have a relationship with God, then he is missing out on a very key part of understanding what his role in society really is. You know, whether it be a favorite religion of his, or even the journey on your own, because see, God is constantly trying to get our attention. And when we begin the process, the journey of beginning to understand, then you begin to understand love. Then you understand what the role of a father is in a family, because he's a father. So quite naturally, he can teach us how to be a father. See, most problems with young people is they think being grown is having sex. Okay. And then when you begin to find out that there's more to it than just planting a seed somewhere, and then don't want to have nothing to do with it, because a female feel like if she receives the seed and keeps the seed, then she gonna keep the man, and that don't work. So I think the first step of wisdom for male and female is to begin the process of having a relationship with the spiritual father.
I agree.
And when you begin that journey and that awakening, then you realize, that all forms of wisdom, knowledge, can be, entrusted into you to be able to begin the process. Like, okay, I've been falling short, of my responsibilities as a father. Thank God, God loved me. So now it's time for me to begin to love mine first, and then as many others as I possibly can.
I love that answer. But we're out of time. We thank you so much, Dr. Ron. Last 30 seconds, Brother Kareem. Got a thought you'd like to leave us with?
Serve God. That's it.
There you go. You serve God. You're serving your fellow human beings and all of the earth and beyond. So let us learn that first principle of fatherhood and motherhood, which is love. Thank you all for joining us on this edition of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. Join us tomorrow for Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. I'm Naima Latif, along with our co-host Kareem Hamid. Thank you so much to our guest, Dr. Ron. And Dr. Ron, real quick, tell us when next time we can see your show as Dr. Ron.
They can come check me out, ask-dr-ron.com. You'll find all my programming on there, ask-dr-ron.com. You'll find all my programming there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you for joining us on this Wednesday morning on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we'll see you all next time. And until that time, continue to shine your light.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to our radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussion. And to our global family listening from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe, India, Zanyaba, Japan, Arigato, Korea, Kamsamnida, Russia, Spasiba, Germany, okay, Poland, Jean, France, merci, Spain, gracias, Italy, grazie, Egypt, shukran, Ghana, medasi, Nigeria, eshe, South Africa, Nyabonga, Senegal, Geret, Kenya, asante, Israel, toda, Pakistan, shukriyan, Afghanistan, Tashakor, Saudi Arabia, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.